Welcome to the Freewrite, a show where we dive into the art of storytelling, songwriting, and the creative process. Join me as I sit down with writers, musicians, and other creatives to talk about process, inspiration, and creating something from nothing. If you're an artist looking for community or a fan hungry to hear about the creative process, there's something for you here. My guest today is Alaina Stacey. Alaina grew up with three brothers in a musical family in Chicago that immersed itself in rock, pop, folk standards, and musical theater. After discovering country music on a road trip out west with her dad, her newfound obsession drove her to start playing guitar and writing songs at 10 years old, joining a country band at 13 as a backup singer, and playing shows opening for Trace Adkins, Sarah Evans, and Leanne Rimes. At 18, Alaina headed to Nashville to launch a music career, where she co-founded the Americana group Maybe April. Following the early success of their viral Audio Tree Live video, the group performed at festivals including South by Southwest, Pilgrimage, CMA Fest, Bristol Rhythm, and Roots, and IBMA Fest, and appeared in venues with Brandy Clark, Bonnie Raitt, Chris Christopherson, and Gavin DeGraw. Now performing solo, Alaina's latest project is a 3-part EP series, Dawn, Day, and Dusk. Use storytelling and tangible sonic emotions to paint a picture of the different times and ups and downs of each day of our lives. I really hope you enjoy my conversation with Alaina. I had a lot of fun and was really happy to finally meet her after knowing about her and her music for many years. So please enjoy my conversation with Alaina Stacey. Alaina, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Freewrite. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk songwriting.
Yeah, of course. I know of you because I learned about you, as we were just talking about, maybe 10 years ago, when our mutual friend Tanner introduced me to your music, your previous band. Mm-hmm. And I remember when, again, I can't remember the exact time frame, but I remember you and your bandmates had written a song, and Tanner was hanging out with us, and he was like, "You guys, this is the greatest song I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, you have to." And so I've been a distant fan for many years, so I'm excited to talk to you today.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful for Tanner for spreading the word about the music, and I'm really glad we finally got to connect. And yeah, he's the best. As I mentioned, I've almost all of my visual artistry has come from Tanner. My whole, basically, I'll share about it later, but my whole most recent project was basically his idea. So where would I be without him?
Yeah, I had no idea. I'm excited to get into that. Yeah. But let's start with just tell me about your path to songwriting.
Yeah. So I think it is in my blood. Mm-hmm. My parents are musicians. My dad is a songwriter. And they met as teenagers and used to play music together. And then they were in a band together for years. Maybe before they were married and definitely after they were married. And they lived in Chicago, and they played a bunch of shows, and they played in the band at least throughout my second brother's pregnancy, my mom's pregnancy with my second brother. I don't know kind of the trajectory after he was born, but
sure.
But anyway, even though their lives moved on to other things, they always had music that was such a big part of our life. And so my two older brothers were songwriters. My dad was a songwriter. And then when I turned 10, when each of us turned 10, my dad would take us on an individual trip to just spend time together. And,
very cool.
And so we went out. The trip was we went out west, and we went horseback riding, and my brothers dug for fossils, and we did a bunch of cool stuff, river rafting. Mm-hmm. And I heard country music for the first time on the radio. Okay. Growing up in Chicago, there is country music for sure in Chicago, but not as prevalent as maybe once I moved to Nashville.
Sure.
And anyway, I heard country music for the first time, and I was just so blown away by the wit and the humor and the storytelling and the heart that was in so many of the songs I heard. And so I got really into country music, which got me kind of that was my path. My parents were not into country music at the time, but that was kind of my path into discovering the type of songwriting that spoke to me and connected with me. And I was 10 at that point. I think I wrote my first real song at 13. Mm-hmm. And then been doing it ever since.
Had you been playing guitar and other music up to that point?
So I had been playing piano. And then after I discovered country music, I was like, I need a guitar. So my dad got me my first guitar. It was like probably this big. So then I started learning guitar, mostly teaching myself and learning a bit from my dad. And then eventually I did take some lessons and stuff. But then once I got into the guitar was when I really started being able to write my own songs. Because the piano, I took classical piano. It was just in my brain. It didn't compute. Yeah.
Yep. Dreaded it. I hated it. Thankful
for
it.
I quit.
The same story of being thankful for it after the fact and hating it while it was going on.
Yep. And you know what? I'm really mad at myself because I didn't stick with it past like 6th grade, I think.
Yeah.
And then I was so into the guitar that I just was like, piano, who needs that? And so now I'm like very, very, very novice on the piano. And I wish that I had stuck with it because it's an excellent tool for songwriting and also just like such a versatile instrument. So,
what's like, do you have general thoughts or like a general approach around songwriting before we dive in to more granular stuff?
Yeah, I guess I would say I sort of have 2 different like approaches depending on if I'm, and I'm sure we talk about more of this, but like if I'm writing by myself or if I'm collaborating and writing with others. My approach when I'm writing by myself is very like deep in my feeling. You know, I'm like very much like sitting there, usually like in the dark, so dramatic, you know, and just kind of like seeing what comes out. Whereas when I'm writing with others, when I'm co-writing, it's a much more like business-like approach. And the results can be the same. We can still like dig up deep from our emotions, but it's much more like, okay, here we are to write a song together. What are we going to write about? Does anybody have something that's on their mind, you know, or does anybody have a melody? Like it's a lot more like stepwise and specific. Whereas when I'm by myself, sometimes I will have a melody that's been in my head or an idea, and that's kind of what I'll want to like circle around. But and then some co-writers are so natural, it's sort of like writing by yourself, but just with another person. So my general thoughts surrounding it are that it's really hard sometimes. And sometimes I hate doing it. And I'm like, why is this something that I love? You know, because it's so difficult, but also so easy. So sometimes the words just fall out. And sometimes it takes you like 7 years to finish a song.
Sure.
And that's very frustrating. So
when it's just you, do you do anything to like set the vibe or get yourself in the zone?
You know, honestly, it's almost like the opposite. It's almost like the vibe or the zone hits me, and then I'm like, all right, I got to write a song. And you, like I said, well, I have a child now, and so late is like 10 p.m. for me. But before that, it would be usually like it'd be at midnight, and I'd be so tired, and then all of a sudden, I just like it would come over me, and I'd be like, okay, I got to write this song now. But not always. It would just kind of be a feeling of, I think maybe something bubbling up that just needed to come out. And so, but
what is your like view of that? Do you have, like how do you make meaning of that like feeling of either it's going to bubble out or like, oh, I want to go to bed, but I have the, what do you like, how do you make sense of that? Or do you?
No, not really. But I guess it's sort of like I'm not a journaler. I've tried. I have like 16 different journals that have maybe like 1 or 2 journal entries, and then I fizzled out and I'm like, I'm going to buy a new journal. I'm going to be a journaler.
Yeah. If you get a new journal, then you will start journaling. Yeah.
Exactly. Everyone knows that's how it works. So it's kind of like my form of journaling, I guess. And it's that sort of my form of making sense of it. Like if that mood strikes and it used to be, I used to write a lot of like very sad, more sad songs, and I still do. I feel like that's the heart, in songwriting. But even if it's like an overwhelming feeling of gratitude or just like wonder or awe or something that just feels like I can't quite like I don't know what to do with it, or I'm not sure why. I could just express it to someone, but there's just like maybe something more that needs to be said. So I think it's sort of like when that feeling hits, it's like, okay, I could just let it pass by, and sometimes I do because life is hard and life gets in the way, or you're just so exhausted, and sometimes I'll be like into my phone and then like fall asleep, so that hopefully that seed of an idea will still exist.
Unreleased demo album, and it's
Yeah.
just
Very raw, very raw.
yeah, unmastered.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm not sure that I truly do make full sense of it, but I think
Sure.
it's in that sense, it's kind of like journaling for people
Yeah.
who really, really can't do journaling.
How do you view like melody, lyrics, harmony, any parts of structure of a song? How do you like break that down in your head? Or again, or do you? But if you do, what is that kind of breakdown like?
You know, it's so funny because you'll talk to people, I would say generally people who aren't songwriters, and you know, I feel like this isn't always the case, and I'm generalizing here, obviously, but like you'll talk to somebody and they are like a melody, vibes, beat, rhythm person, and they might know every word and have no idea what the lyrics are, or they might not know any of the words and they just, or you have people who are super lyrically driven. They're listening to every word, and it doesn't matter if the melody, you know, it's not to throw shade at Bob Dylan, but like, you know, it's not about the, you know, the pop melodies. It's about like the poetry of the lyrics. And I think that always really amazes me to hear kind of what people gravitate towards. And I think I really care about both as like a marriage of the two. And that doesn't mean it has to be like the intricate melody or the deepest lyrics. I just think the way that I view them is that they have to match. Like sometimes I'll be listening to a song and one lyric will throw me and I'll be like, oh, this song would be so perfect. Why did they do that one weird like grammatical thing, or just like this thing that doesn't make sense to me, or, you know, and so I feel like there's a lot of, and that doesn't mean that like a happy song has to sound happy and a sad song has to sound sad. There's a lot of, there's a Tom Waits quote, something, I love beautiful melodies telling me terrible things, or something like that. And,
I like that.
You know, so I think it just means to me that they have to align. And so it's hard for me to take, I have done this before, especially because I do like to collaborate and in many different ways. It's hard for me to like take lyrics that are already written and put them to music, because I feel like they need to be like birthed together.
Sure.
But it's not impossible, and sometimes that results in something really cool. Like amazing that like Elton John wrote all his songs with just like given all the, you know, and that he created these perfect, beautiful, you know, songs. But that's a really hard thing for me to do. Sometimes I can, and sometimes I enjoy it as a challenge, but I think I kind of view them as all intertwined and intricate. And then harmonies and stuff, that's something I've been doing. My mom is a great harmonizer, and something that's like kind of just like been in my brain my whole life. And so that's something I don't even think about that in the moment, unless it's a chorus that's like, it's one note and it's just harmonies, you know. But that's more of just like an extra fun thing that just gets to exist. So yeah.
I was talking with my parents a couple weeks ago about, I can't remember how it came up, but the idea of a lot of songs, I think like Great American Songbook type songs were like someone wrote the music and the melody and then gave it to the lyricist to write. And just, how different of a process that would be. Or like you mentioned the Elton John of like, okay, here's a page of lyrics, write the melody. That's like, it's, so different. Like
it is. And it's so cool that everybody has their different strengths. And, you know, because I have written with people who are like, I'm a lyricist, I don't write melodies, I can't even sing, I can't even play any instrument. And that to me is so amazing too, to be able to imagine and like construct a whole song in your head when you aren't even a musically in that way melody inclined person. It makes a little more sense to me the other way around, that you could like create a whole song or like a whole melody without having
Sure.
words, because I feel like music is a language in itself. It's the universal language. But especially, yeah, writing lyrics and then like having no
Yeah.
melody for them is like, how do you even do that? I guess
Yeah.
it's poetry, but still, poetry is different than
Sure.
songwriting. I mean, it's hard to put a
Yeah.
poem to a song. You know, there's kind of a nuance to it, and yeah, that's really interesting. Your mom is a songwriter, right?
Writer. Not
Writer.
really
Okay.
songwriter. Yeah. My mom is a writer. My dad is a musician. So I
So
kind of
you
take
are the.
yeah, the amalgamation of,
I love it.
yeah. Is there anything, and we'll stick with just like solo, you in a room
Okay.
writing. Is there anything you're really trying for when you go to do that?
My bandmate and I used to have a joke that we would just mime to each other when we would hear a song, where if you're listening on the podcast, you won't be able to hear, but we basically would mime ripping out our heart, slamming it to the ground and stomping on it. So that's what I'm aiming for. That's what I'm trying
Right.
for.
Yeah.
Obviously not in every song if it's a more upbeat song or just like a fun one. But even then it's its own form of like,
Sure.
I'm really trying for something that like gets somebody in their body and in their feel, like their,
Yeah.
whether that's like, oh my God, I need to go like lay in my bed for an hour and cry, or like, oh my God, I need to get up and dance, or, you know, although in like the more Americana sphere, it's not all the get up and dance. It's usually more the go cry in my bed. But yeah, I think I'm really aiming for something that like really speaks to people, because we all have such different experiences. Like the specifics of our day to day are so different, but really we're all just like the same on the inside, and just you know. So I think that's what I'm really trying for, is like I'm really trying to speak to people in a way that relates to them, and I love when somebody comes up to me after a show and says, "That song made me cry." Like, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for. So,
On that note, what's one of your favorite, if you can think of one, compliments you've ever gotten about your music?
ooh, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to come back to that one, because
Sure. Yeah. No, I
it's
sprung that
hard
one on
to
you.
like. I don't know. I mean,
Someone once told me that a song of mine made them mad. And I was like, hell yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Totally. It's like you just want them to feel something, you know?
Yeah.
And I think if I can't think of a specific example of the greatest compliments, it's just, again, yeah, that kind of like, oh, that song made me cry, or that song made me, like, I want to hear that song at my wedding, or, you know, just like things that like really, when it really speaks to them. That's, you know.
Is there anything you're really trying to avoid when you're writing?
This is like a maybe dumb one, but I don't like dating my songs too much. So like I don't like to put like technological references in them.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to think that one day, 100 years from now, someone could listen to that song and it would still feel like it was speaking to them in that time.
Yeah.
I have, you know, talked about like a phone call, I guess, maybe in a song. But other than that, like I really don't like to mention like texting or social media or maybe I've mentioned the internet. I don't know. But like I really try to avoid like really time limiting references.
Yeah.
Obviously, unless it's like a commentary on a specific thing in a moment. But even then, I'd rather try to use like some other type of language to describe what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that comes to mind as far as just trying to avoid. And then just like, I don't know, just trying to avoid writing the same thing that everyone has already written, which is impossible because everything has been written, you know. But just trying to be fresh. Says every songwriter ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how does any of that change when you're collaborating? You touched on it a little bit, but like maybe more in the weeds now. Like, what's the, I guess let's start here. Are most times you go to collaborate with someone, kind of, do they follow the same trajectory, or are they all over the map?
I think back when I was younger, I was songwriting with more people. I wasn't necessarily writing more songs, but I think it was like more connecting, like, oh, sure, I'll write with you, I'll write with you, I'll write with you. This person has, yes, like,
Sure.
So I think then it was a little more all over the map. And like I mentioned, there'd be people who were totally just lyricists or more just, melody focused, and people who were like very current era pop focused, or people who were like very deep, wanted to get into the like, what the heck are we talking about kind of stuff. So in that sense, I think when the pool was wider, it was more varied. And I think there are benefits to having that wider pool. And I also think as I've gotten older and as my lifestyle has changed and just life goes on, as I have like really, I haven't cut any, I'm still open to writing with anyone or whatever, but you kind of gravitate towards the songwriters who you just love to write with and you feel like you just make magic with. And so then I feel like even if we have different styles or different approaches, we've learned how to kind of like put them together in a way that makes a song come out, and so I think in that sense, it's a little more like, becomes a little more organic, and a little bit more comfortable. And I think when you're comfortable, and that doesn't mean, I've had some co-writes where it's first time meeting the person. And suddenly we're like, okay, here's my life story, and just, it's comfortable right away. And then some that are not comfortable. You're like, I can't wait for this to be over. And that's also a great learning experience. And I'm so glad I had those co-writes. Or like a song where you just really don't like the song as you're writing it, but you finish it to finish it. And maybe somebody else will love it, But I think kind of creating those comfortable relationships where you can really, like I said, it's like you're writing by yourself, but just like with another heart, with another mind. That's when I think everything just kind of smooths out, and it feels like it's all the same path and all the same ideas. Even when you're getting pushback, or when you're having somebody say like, that's stupid, let's move on from that. That's good too. It's like your inner brain, but on the outside of your body. So.
Sure. Do you usually go into co-writes with a pool of ideas and, you pick one from each other, or are you just going in completely blind?
I would say mostly yes, going in with a pool of ideas. I'm going to throw out a compliment to most of my co-writers here and say that they're better at that than me. At keeping track, because mine is like, I'll like start a new note every time on my phone, which is I should have one note with all the ideas. So then I'm like scrolling through trying to find all the ideas. So I would say usually, or at least a melodic idea, something coming up with something. But I have definitely been in co-writes where me and the other person, or the other two people or whatever, like, I got nothing today. Let's start fresh. Let's just come up with something together. And that sometimes is the best of all, because a lot of times you kind of write something down that just isn't working, and you try to make it work, and it's not. Maybe it was for another time in your life or for a future time, but so kind of both. I think it's definitely more professional to come prepared. So again, if you're with those comfortable people, it's still nice to come prepared, but you have a little more relaxed, just relaxation to just say, hey, you know what? Totally. I'm starting fresh today. So.
What's your relationship with demos?
I hardly make them. I'm a work tape. I'm a work tape girly. I
work tape meaning
like just play it on my guitar into my phone.
Like a voice memo
not
kind of thing.
I don't even. I'm not like. I mean, I have a mic. I have. I can make it. I'm not highly proficient in like audio engineering. I have Logic. I use it. But I'm very, 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 very novice, and I love making a demo when somebody wants to make one. I love to be in the studio or in the bedroom and with the mic or whatever. But I don't find them. I think I'm not okay. That's another generalization. I'm not trying to like start a fight. Really, the only reason in my mind to make a demo is if you're pitching it to somebody else and you want it to sound like the best it can sound.
Yeah.
Even if that is just a guitar vocal but recorded really well, or if you have an idea of how the song should go and so you want to produce it up a little bit. Otherwise, I don't know what's the point of spending the time other than like for fun if you like doing it.
Yeah.
Or money if you have to pay for it. Like, I don't know if you're not going to pitch it to somebody, if it's a song that's for you or for like, just your own project. I don't know why a voice memo to me is fine.
You already know what you're aiming for when you go to the recording session. Okay. Yeah.
But I do think, on the other hand, I have also written with people who are like computer writers. So they're like, let's build a track to write to. And that is something I really admire. I don't want to say can't. In this current moment, I do not have the skills to do that kind of writing. And so I find that really fun. And that's definitely more like when I'm writing more poppy stuff with people. But like my brother, for example, he's a producer, he's a songwriter, we kind of do a fun pop project together, and that's really fun because he's kind of like building a track as we're writing.
Yeah.
And then you have like an already demo by the time you write the song, because it's sort of like
in there.
Yeah.
How does that change the process? Like, do you feel a little bit more freedom when it's just you with the guitar and you can like change the chords or change the structure? Or do you have that same freedom even when you're kind of going in the box? Like, how does that?
Yeah, I think, yes, you do have the same freedom, but it doesn't feel that way always to me. I think it is different to me. And sometimes I have to say, okay, but turn that off. Let me get the guitar. Like, I need to just like mess around.
Yeah.
Because when you're listening to the track that you're building, that's what you're working to. And so if it does feel limiting sometimes, or it can feel like it boxes me in, at least. And that's the limitation of myself. I think probably others who do that kind of thing all the time can be like, hold on, let me try this. Beep, boop, beep, boop. And then they can like, make a whole new idea or melody or whatever. But for me, I do sometimes just have to like pause everything and get the guitar out. And sometimes I don't even know I'm like, okay, what are the chords to this song? So,
yeah.
But it does change the process, and it does feel a little more like writing lyrics without writing music, even though that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
But because I'm not the one at the controls, not meaning that I have to like be the one in control. I just mean that since I'm not the one creating the track, then I feel like I'm just here like trying to come up with lyrics and melody, of course. But yeah, so it definitely does change the process, and I enjoy it for sure, and I enjoy the challenge, and I enjoy the kind of changing it up, but it's definitely different.
How do you know when it's time to record, like step into the recording process? Because it's going to go from like writing voice memo to like, okay, session to record this song, it sounds like. How do you know when it's time to jump for that?
Again, it depends on what the purpose is. Like, I think usually if it's a song I've co-written and it's like, okay, we want to make a really nice demo because we kind of both know this isn't for us, but we really think we wrote something good, then it's like, let's get this polished up a little bit so that we have it prepared to, if it's somebody who has a publishing deal, then great. I mean, especially if I'm writing with someone who has a publishing deal, I'm like, let's demo this up. But if not, then it's just like, let's have a demo that we have prepared to share, or, but if it's something that I'm doing for myself, I think I kind of just keep track of all the songs I've written, and I have like a little Google spreadsheet with like a little link that I can go listen to the song and see the lyrics. And then when I'm thinking, okay, it's time to put some music out, then I'm like listening back to songs. And some songs, like my latest project that I just released and finished, has songs that I wrote in high school. So like that I kind of, upon like making plans for the release, went back and listened thinking, well, it doesn't have to be my newest songs. It doesn't have to be the ones that I'm writing right now. Maybe there
Yeah.
are some sleepers from
Sure.
10 years ago,
Deep
or
cuts.
songs, deep cuts, exactly, or like
Hmm.
songs that maybe were good, but now I'm older and wiser and maybe needed a little tweak so that they could be part of a project. So for me,
Yeah.
mostly I have not gone into a songwriting, like a co-write or my own write, thinking like I need songs for this to record.
Hmm.
It's mostly just like I'm writing songs and here they are now. And then
Yeah.
when I'm ready to put music out, I'm returning to the catalog.
Interesting.
Um, I think back when I was in maybe April, my old
Hmm.
band, um, we might have had a few moments of like, all right, let's write some songs for this album.
Yeah.
Um, but mostly I I haven't I think a lot of people do that, and I think
Hmm.
that's really a great idea. I just haven't done that.
Sure. Well, some of those ones that were from high school or from years past, how much, if any, editing or updates did you make, and what was that like? And even more broadly, do you feel like, are you editing a lot of your stuff on the days after you've written it? How true to like draft one
Mhm.
do your final songs kind of feel?
I would say pretty true to draft one. I feel like I
Yeah.
don't call a song like for the most part. There were a few, so like for example, I have one on so this last project that
Hmm.
when I wrote it, I think it was a year after I graduated high school. It was very much like a ding ding ka ding ka ding ding, like a very country kind of like
Sure.
strummy. Um, and when I got into the studio with my producer, it became much more, I don't even know how to describe it, just like it was a
Different vibe.
totally different vibe. Everything
Sure.
was different. And to the point where we even took one of like the verses and changed it like into a bridge. So melodically we changed it, the chords
Okay.
underneath, we changed everything, we changed. So that I have done that, and
Hmm.
like I'm really actually glad for the way that one turned out. I think it
Yeah.
was a cute little song before, but it was elevated by my producer's suggestions, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
For the most part, I would say like they're written and that they're written that way,
Right
and
on.
that's how they end up turning out. Aside from
Yeah.
maybe a couple, I remember one it's so annoying, but I'm like very in my head, I'm like about thinking about grammar, and so
Hmm.
like that doesn't make sense. Why did I write it that way? And so I'll like change.
Yeah.
Like I had one that was like lay or lie, and I had the wrong lay or
Mm.
lie.
Layer
So
lie. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So those things that don't really matter that much, but I'm like, why not do it right?
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Uh,
but I'd say mostly they stay true to their first drafts.
yeah. As you're recording, how do you know when a song is done?
I'm just never done. Never.
Okay. Yeah.
You know
That's what
when
I'm
you say,
curious
"Okay,
about.
fine, I've had enough. Just stop already."
Yeah.
Um, it's really hard. It's really hard to
Hmm.
know for me. I think that's one of the beautiful things about collaborators, and I think if I were doing everything myself, nothing would ever get done because I would just be like,
Yeah.
"Man, let me change this one thing. What do you think?" So I
Draft
think,
86. Like we can
yeah,
go. We can.
final.
Yeah.
This is really the one.
Marking it with every color in the
Yeah,
Finder, just like
yeah,
every, yeah.
exactly. So I think for me, that is really one of the benefits and one of the beautiful parts about collaborating with other people, whether it's on the music end, like producers, co-writers, or on the visual end, like uh,
Yeah.
photographers or graphic
Yeah.
designers or cinematographers or videographers. Tanner's been
Yeah.
very teaching me that a videographer is different than a cinematographer, and I do not wish to offend anyone. Um,
Tanner, if you're listening, and we know you are,
that's
they're
right.
the same.
I'm
Just
learning.
kidding.
So I think outside, like still internal as far
Hmm.
as like working on a project, but like outside of my own brain and mind and heart and everything and my feelings, outside perspective is really helpful for that as far as knowing when
Yeah.
something is done. Because I think we're all our own worst critic, and
Mm.
you can always say, well, that one's not good enough, or I don't think that's
Yeah.
exactly as good as it could possibly be. And it's probably isn't. Like, you know, in 2 years I could re-record it and be better because I've learned more, but then nothing would ever happen. And so I think
Yeah.
part of it is just letting go of your ego a little bit and letting go of perfection, and just it's better for it to be out in the world than not at all. So
Yeah. Do you share your stuff with people before it's released, and how many people? What, like, are they musicians? Are they not musicians? What are you looking for? What are you hoping for
yeah, great
as you
question.
focus group it?
Definitely yes. I send all my songs to my dad and my mom as soon as I finish writing them.
Yeah.
And my dad said it's like I'm sending him a little baby every time he gets one. He's like so excited. So I definitely share all my songs with my parents and with my husband. And then as far as like having like sending the recorded, like the mixes or whatever, also like usually to my parents and to my brothers who are both musicians.
Okay.
And sometimes to friend, like when I was starting this last project, I had like so many songs and I just didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know which I should pick and what direction I should go. And so I actually sent out a batch of songs to like kind of a larger group of like some musicians, some family, some friends, and asked them to kind of give me, I had like some guidelines on like, what does this song make you feel? Like what time of day do you visualize? Because the whole project is like a visual kind of thing. So it's like, so it depends. I'm not super shy about it. I honestly, I'm one of my hugest struggles and flaws as a human being is my inability to make decisions. Really, it takes me a long time. I like want to mull over every single little possibility and outcome. So I'm not sure it really helps me to share it with more and more and more and more people, because then I'm just like getting more and more and more opinions. But I enjoy, you know, I'm an external processor. I like to hear feedback. I like to like talk about it. And so I send it to a lot of people, musicians and non-musicians alike, and just people that I trust to give me like feedback that is not necessarily like, oh my God, I love it so much, you know, constructive criticism if it is, or whatever. People that I trust to love music, basically.
Nice. Yeah. Talk to me about titling songs or projects or whatever.
Great question. Titling songs mostly I feel like is pretty straightforward for the most part. Usually I feel like it's like, oh yeah, this song is called the hook of the song, or, you know, whatever. But I do have a few, like I have one called Erickson's Psychosocial Stages that never says those words. And it's like, you know, because I wrote that one for a class actually, for a psychology class. And I had to do like an artistic expression assignment. And so I, of course, chose to write a song. And the psychological concept that I was writing about was this idea of the psychosocial stages developed by this psychologist, Erik Erikson, who theorized that we all go through the same set of stages in our life. And so that one, I just felt like, well, yeah, that's what I'm going to call it, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Or, you know, like one I wrote with my brother, it's not released, but like sometimes you have like one little lyric in it that just feels like it encapsulates the whole song. And yeah, you know, we all know those songs from the albums. We're like, what the heck is that song called? Oh yeah, that one random word they said in the second, you know, verse, whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm going to say like it doesn't really matter, and it matters a lot. Like I feel like sometimes it's just whatever. But sometimes if there's like a message that you want to get across in the song, then having a title that's well thought out that might use one specific tiny lyric or a lyric that's not even in there at all can also help to sort of like paint that picture and further the meaning of the song. So kind of depends.
Are the titles on the voice memo usually the final title? Or did those change?
That's a great question, and I think would say half and half.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's like song about plinky plunky, or
Yeah,
like sometimes it'll, or if it's like a melody that started without any lyrics, I'll have to describe it somehow. And so that will be like the title until I finally choose a
sure.
title or, um,
Yeah,
so I would say 50-50, maybe more than that. I would say generally they're probably the same that they come out to be,
cool.
depending on the genesis of the song. Like,
Mm,
especially if it's a co-write, usually it's like, oh, what's the hook? Or like, what are we writing about? And then
right.
it's sort of like you have the craft of the song from the beginning, and so then you have a title. But
When you first started sharing, you were talking about how like you shared about just like the differences in kind of maybe even emotional state between like a solo write and a co-write.
yeah.
Do you find that there like that your intentionality or thought process about writing is different? Because like I guess I'm just putting my own experience on it. I find that in a co-write, I'm usually a little bit more analytical. And I'm asking the
Mhm.
question like, what is this song about? And I'm asking like,
Yeah.
who is the main character in this? Like, what's
Yeah.
happening? Like, I'm way more analytical than when I'm by myself and, I
Yes.
haven't turned a light on yet and I'm just like doing whatever.
Yes.
And I don't have a judgment on either one being better as of right now, but I'm curious if that's a relatable thing.
150%. Yes, that's relatable. I would say that's exactly my same experience. Like I said, kind of when a co-write, it sometimes feels a little bit more businessy, where you're like, all right, we
Yeah,
have to get this product done.
sure.
And in both things, it can be a great, wonderful, fun
Yeah.
experience. And you're still like, we came together, we carved out the time of this day to do this together. So
Hmm.
definitely it feels more analytical. When you said like, who's the main character? What is this song? Like I heard myself ask those questions. Like, what
Yeah.
are we trying to say here? Um,
Yeah.
so definitely I would say it does change like the emotional, or like
Hmm.
the, more emotional, more analytical. Whereas when you're writing, like you said, haven't turned the light on yet, or it's 11 p.m. and there are no lights and you're sitting in the dark, you're like, what the
Yeah.
hell? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that case where you're maybe less editing or less like concerned about what's coming out and you're just putting it down, and then maybe you can look back after and see, does this make sense? But like,
Yeah.
I definitely think that changes the process. And one of my goals as a songwriter is to be a little bit more like poetic.
Mm.
I think I'm a pretty, like, my lyrics are, and probably it comes from growing up with like a lot of country music, like
Hmm.
storytelling that's like very like, I hope I'm not like, and then she came home and then she did that. It's not like that, but I'm just saying some of that like really beautiful
Hmm.
poetic language or like
Yeah.
imagery or stuff where you're like saying what you're saying, but you're not really saying it, or,
Right.
you're wondering, what's that song about? Like, my songs are pretty obvious what they're about. So something that I would love to work on as an artist, and I do try to work on, is just being a
Hmm.
little more creative. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say flowery because that's over the top. I
Well,
just mean,
very meta. You're
yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
Wow.
just like, stuff that people might have to think a little bit.
Yeah.
I find that I can do that a little better when I'm by myself because I
Yeah.
don't care so much about what is coming out.
That's something I wanted to ask you too. Like, another conversation I was having with my mom last night was about like song meaning, and specifically when songwriters talk about or are asked about their own songs and songs they've written.
Mm.
Um, I have really appreciated just like seeing old interviews of like the Beatles where someone asks them what a song is about and they're always tongue in cheek and they never actually answer. Or
Yeah.
like I think I saw an interview with Chris Martin once
Mhm.
from Coldplay, and he was like, whatever this song was about when I was writing it, once I release it, it's now about whatever you feel like it's about. Like, if
Mhm.
someone comes up to me and says, "Is this song about this?" I'll always just say yes because it's whatever meaning they want to make from it. I'm curious what your view is of that. Like, I'm not trying to ask about like what is this song about? Like, but
Yeah.
if and when you get those questions,
Yeah.
do you want to answer them, or do you want to just say like it's about whatever it's about, man? Like, how do you view that?
That's a really cool question and thought process. I think kind of both. Like I was saying earlier, I think that one of my goals in writing a song is for it to speak to somebody in their own way. And so in that sense, yeah, if somebody hears a song and it's not like what I intended or the my perspective as I was writing it, who cares? Like if that's what it says to them, that's so cool that one song with one set of lyrics can mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, I think that's really, really magical and really beautiful and like such a great way to look at it. And I think I'm not opposed to explaining my songs. Like if somebody asks me, I'll share where it came from or, but I also love the idea that it just means what it means to different people. And it doesn't have to mean what it meant when I wrote it. And also, again, like I said, I'm sometimes releasing songs I wrote 10 years ago. So maybe it doesn't even mean to me what it meant when I wrote it.
That's cool.
Now that I'm releasing it or, that I have a whole different perspective or whatever. So, yeah.
How has process changed over the years for you in anything we've talked about so far? Like, from 13-year-old first song written to now, how have things changed regarding process?
Well, I'm sad to say I'm writing a lot less by hand. I write a lot more on my phone and on my computer. When I was 13, I had a notebook. I still have the notebook.
Yeah.
Right. It's just really ridiculous lyrics. I think, I don't know, I certainly have more confidence, which I'm grateful for. I think, well, there's something about being young and having a certain amount of confidence. I'm still young, we're young, we're all young. But being 13 or, 15 and having a certain level of like inexperience that gives you confidence. And so I do kind of miss that where it's like now having been in the industry and been, it's like, you kind of get a little jaded about like, well, what is, how should I write this? Or how, how are people going to perceive it or whatever? And I think so that on the negative flip side of it, I think is the hard part about like becoming more experienced is that there's like more to fear, more to lose, more to, I don't know, care about. But I think, I don't know. I think I've become more like, when I was younger, it was like I had to wait to be inspired by something to write. And as I've gotten older, I can turn that on. And I'm really grateful for that because I think otherwise I would have like only 6 songs, because again, it's like you don't know when the moment is going to strike. And sometimes it strikes every day, 3 times a day. And sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, when's the last time I wrote a song?
Yeah.
And so you have to be disciplined about it. And so I think that has changed a little bit. But I don't, my skill, like my guitar playing skills have changed a lot, and that's helped my songwriting. Sure. I'm still very average, but I was like way not good at the beginning. Yeah, as no one, Yeah. So I think that's changed.
Cool.
Yeah.
Talk to me about now, like the visual components of music. Like we're living in the TikTok, the social media, the reels, the short form video age. So there's that, but also like you were telling me a little bit before we started recording about Tanner and all the work that he's done for you visually. So let's touch on all of that.
So
let's talk about Tanner and the cool stuff he's done first. We'll start there.
Okay. Tanner, because then I'll feel all happy and bubbly, and I won't care so much about talking about stupid TikTok. Yeah. So the project that I just released was a 3 EP series. And so the first one was called Dawn, the second one was called Day, and the third one was called Dusk. And it kind of came about because I had a lot of songs I wanted to record, like way too many for one album.
Yeah.
And Tanner, because he's always like, I love how he's so committed and serious about his art and his craft. And like, he's not just taking pictures, like he's making art. Mm-hmm. And I am not gifted in the visual arts category. I'm really not. Which is why I love collaboration. Like people have their gifts. That's not one of mine. And I can do fine and I can, use the internet and whatever. But like, I love when somebody is passionate about that and can like bring their ideas to we can elevate each other. Yeah. And so, I always get stressed out about like having to take pictures for a project or like having to pick an album cover or, because I just there's like a mental block in my brain. I just like can't. Some people come to their photo shoot and they're like, here's the vision. It's me in these colors, in this outfit, and behind me, it's like sometimes I'll have a little moment of like, I have a visual for this, but mostly it's like, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so Tanner, in trying to help me, I don't even honestly remember. He basically put together a whole like little vision board for me.
Yeah.
Separating these visuals by dawn, day, and dusk. And so it was like the colors and the soft lighting of dawn and the bright, more bold colors of day, and then the like darker, moodier vibes of night.
Yeah.
And then to me, I was like, this is exactly how I'm going to present the entire project. And so I like basically took that and ran with it. And Tanner's like, whoa.
That's cool.
And so, so the whole project became 3 different EPs that I arranged. Because also, if you're looking at songs over 10 years of songwriting, my songwriting has changed too. And my genre, my voice has changed. I was a lot more country. I used to like sing with a very country accent. It wasn't fake. It was real to me, but it was coming from Chicago. Like I don't even, but like when I would sing, that's what would come out because that's what I listened to and that's how I heard the emotion. And so like my songs used to be a lot more country and now they're a little bit more alternative Americana, whatever. And so the songs themselves had changed and some of them are a little more pop and some of them are darker and moodier and some of them are like just silly. So I was having a hard time being like, how do I put these all together on one album? And so instead I said, well, screw that. I don't have to do that. So I reframed it and I like listened to them all a billion times until I couldn't stand any of them. And I kind of like in my brain, and that was when I also used some friends to say like, hey, what time of day do you feel when you hear this song?
Yeah.
And so I kind of separated them more by that. It wasn't by genre or it wasn't by subject. It was just by a feeling of, listening to them, putting yourself in them. And then also the dawn, day, and dusk of like time.
Yeah.
Like, songs that are a bit like younger or that talk about like birth, not like actual childbirth, but, birth of ideas or birth of self. And then more of like the daytime, just like the living in it, you're in it. And then some of the darker stuff that's like maybe winding down, or I have a song about my grandpa who died from Alzheimer's or, just like some stuff that's like a little bit like darker or like end of like towards the end of life type stuff. And so, that little visual idea that Tanner suggested to me ended up being the basis for this whole entire project. And that also helped me so much as a person who struggles with it was like, okay, dawn stuff, all these colors, fine, great, like all these visuals, day, it was like easy to come up with merch because I could have like coffee mugs for the dawn stuff for drinking, or like whatever. It was just so much, candles for nighttime. So it was just once that little visual element was in place, it blossomed so much, and that was like such a great example of how the two arts can combine and make each other better. Cool. So in that sense, I love that. And Tanner, again, I love having like a great music video, even if it's simple, just having something that looks beautiful and that speaks to the feeling behind the song. Or, he did one for me he did 2 for he did, I love all the videos, but 2 of them particularly that I love. One for a song about my youngest brother. It's called I'll Take Care of the Baby. And he had my brother Gabriel, he's a dancer, so he dances in it, and we there's home videos and us in our childhood house, and like I think he really, like, the first time I watched it, it made me cry. And it's my own videos and stuff, but it gave me the feeling that I was hoping to give to others, and he did such a beautiful job with that. And then on the flip side, we did a really fun one for a more like bouncy, fun, silly song of, it's like, skating rink, and there's also dancing in that one. And he's just does such a nice job with movement and colors and visuals. He's like just so, it's art. He's creative. So
that's great.
In that sense, I love being part of the visual process when somebody else is in charge.
Well, it's cool that idea of the visuals like influenced the structure of the songs and of the EPs. That's super cool.
Totally. And I'm like so grateful to him for that. And, and then again, on the flip side, I want to smash my phone. I want
Mm-hmm.
to delete every video and every photo. I want to throw it all away and become a hermit. And I don't
Yeah.
ever want to have to create for
Short
the
form
for the
video
listeners. I'm
content.
air quoting here some content ever again. I
Yeah.
can't. I didn't. I was 13 when I started this. Also, it was 2013 when I moved to Nashville. So like
Mm-hmm.
Instagram was new. Like TikTok
Yeah.
didn't exist. None of that existed. I didn't move to Nashville to be a content creator
Yeah.
or I don't again, I don't enjoy making visual art that much because
It's a different skill set. Like
yes,
it sounds like you got into it for the music and now
yes,
you're like, oh shit, I have to
yeah. Now
there,
I have to do all this other stuff, which I'm
yeah.
happy to put in the work, but it's just like I'd rather put in the work in different areas, and I know
Yeah.
that that's part of it, and that's sort of just like the culture that we're living in right now. But I find it frustrating, and it
Yeah.
makes me sometimes not want to do any of it, and that's really sad.
Do you have
So
any tips or tricks or things that you tell yourself or
no,
you're just in the
send them my
weeds?
way, everybody, please. I
Yeah.
I
We'll
mean,
find some for you.
yeah, it can be fun, like. My favorite thing that I ever made on TikTok had nothing to do with music. Do you remember that trend where it was that,
I did look at all your social medias, so I
okay,
did see this. And I feel like
yeah,
I had seen it like years or whenever it happened and like I
yeah,
was like, wait, I think I know.
yeah. Well, so yeah, it was that I'm just a kid, and you do you
Recreation
recreate
of
a
a
childhood
photo.
photo, and it was an older trend, and then like maybe a year or even longer than that after it, we had this idea as siblings to do it, and we never did it, and so we finally
Yeah.
did it, and it was like such a weird photo and it blew up. It has like 7 million views or something, which is like, then if you look at my little videos of me playing guitar, they have like
Yeah.
212. It's like, this is why I hate everything.
Yeah.
But, that was fun. And then I made my brother, my oldest brother's like very into content and he's like
Hmm.
used to do video editing and stuff. And so he was really helpful to me in like finding the fun side of like telling the story behind the video.
Sure.
And that was fun because it just felt like no pressure. So I think that's the other thing is like just as far as tips and tricks and advice, like just try to take the pressure off and just like try to have fun with it and
Just
try to do it. Just,
yeah. No,
ugh.
I mean that's good advice to I
Yeah.
mean, because it's the
It's one thing
same
to
with
say.
anything. Yeah,
Yes.
one thing to say it, another thing to practice it for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, so like that was the most fun I had. And so when
Yeah.
I could, or like when years back when I did, when I was in maybe April, we did a crowdfunding thing and we had to make like a little video. And that was really fun. It was music
Yeah.
related, but it was just silly. And we were just like doing dumb stuff to try to get people to laugh and want to donate to our campaign. So like,
Sure.
I think that, and again, like I said, I'm an external processor. I love to collaborate. I like to do things with people. I'm very extroverted.
Yeah.
And so I also find it a lot easier to make content and make videos and take pictures when I have someone to do it with.
Sure.
Because I just
Yeah, for
hate being
sure.
in my room and being like, hey, Instagram, what's up? It's
Yeah.
just it
It's
feels
tough.
so, or like being in public and like having to like film myself. Oh, yeah.
I know. What a gift to just not care and to
I
just
know.
be filming yourself confidently in public.
I'm
Yeah.
so envious. I have a friend of mine who is so good at the social media stuff and she doesn't care. I'm like, how do you just give me your gift, please? Like, teach
Yeah.
me the ways.
Yeah.
So what are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah. Okay, well, time for the slow round. Speed round, not in a hurry. Take your time with these questions. You kind of already answered this one, but I want to ask it anyway. What are your beliefs around inspiration?
Mm. Um, I guess I would just say that inspiration could come from anywhere, and that to the best of your ability, like do your best to follow it when it strikes.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that like human stories are what inspire us, and that's not necessarily true. You could see something like nature and it's so beautiful and it inspires you, but even that's human because you're having a human reaction to something beautiful. And so
Yeah.
I think that keeping yourself open to that and greeting it with as much openness as you can is the way to keep staying inspired and honoring that.
Yeah. What do you find yourself writing about most?
Ugh, heartbreak, love. What else is there? That's not true at all. I'm always trying to write like a murder ballad or like
Ooh,
some kind of cultural commentary
yeah.
or
Isn't it
um,
great when you hear a song that you love and you're like, oh my gosh, this is about, like, there's a song by Ben Howard that's about an orange tree. And I'm like,
yeah, like
love that.
why didn't I think? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So I would say what I do write about most is heartbreak and love.
Yeah.
What I would like to write about more is anything else. Uh, but it's all with heartbreak and love, and
Yeah.
what that's the stuff I for a long time. Heartbreak was the stuff I knew, and so that
Yeah.
was what I wrote about. And again, it was like it's my journaling. So if
Yeah.
that's what I need to write about, that's what I'm going to write about. So
Cool.
but I try to write about other things, and I have. I also like to write about other kinds of love. Like again, I have a song for my brother, or I have a song for my parents, or the Erickson's psychosocial stages one that I mentioned. It is about this psychological theory, but it's also about my parents and like a gratefulness for the life they gave me. And so like, I
Yeah.
think that's still love, but it's not like
Yeah.
romantic.
What artists have influenced you the most?
I would say in the early Casey Chambers was my first. She's like an Australian country singer, but she also is kind of like more edgy than like modern pop country or whatever. She's more.
Hmm.
But she was like my first songwriting muse. I think
Mm.
she is the basis for all that I became.
Cool.
But I Laurie McKenna is a songwriter who I love so much, who inspires me, and I hope to one day write a song that's 1/10 of a tenth. What is that? 100th? Um, as good and beautiful and powerful as her music.
Yeah.
But artist though. I mean, she's an artist too, but she's never songwriter. But
That, I mean, hey, that count. Those are great answers.
honestly, I'm gonna say this is gonna be a silly one, but In Sync, because of the
Heck yeah.
harmonies.
Yeah.
I loved In Sync as a child, and I feel like just listening to stuff with like surrounded by harmonies helped me
Hmm.
as an artist, like want to, do that and be
Yeah.
part of that. And I love Ben Folds. Don't sound anything like him, but he was an artist who just like made me want to make music.
Hmm. Is there a piece of creative advice that you've really resonated with?
I honestly feel like it's so like duh and like
Those are
not
sometimes the best
fancy
ones.
at all, but
The
just
ones
like
we've
I don't
heard a
know.
bunch are the ones we need to hear a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just like writing stuff that's true.
Hmm.
Even if it's not true for you, even if you're
Yeah.
writing a story about somebody else, or even if you're making up a story,
Hmm.
still make it true.
Yeah.
Um, that and then also like being detailed, I
Hmm.
think is a piece of creative advice that I really have always carried with me, that adding detail doesn't mean you're going to alienate somebody who's listening. Again, like we talked about, somebody can listen to one of your songs and have a totally different like
Yeah.
idea of what it's about. I think adding details makes it more visceral, makes it more tangible to people. And even if that one detail isn't specific to them, it paints a picture, and it actually makes it broader in some way. So
Hmm.
I think those two things, and that kind of goes in under the truth umbrella. Like
Yeah.
details about the world are true, and so the more details and the more um, like I don't know, yeah, true storytelling that you can do, the more it will speak to people, I think.
Yeah. You've answered this one already, but I'm going to ask it again anyway. What's a creative goal of yours?
Yeah, like I said, to write more poetically and
Sure.
up in the like for people who are smart, like smart people who like to think. No, I'm just kidding. Just yeah, I like to write a little less literally, a
Yeah.
little bit more poetically and with imagery and
Hmm.
mysteriously. And I would say another creative goal of mine is to make a full length album as myself as a solo artist
Hmm.
that really feels like me.
Yeah.
Because I had Maybe April, And that was me. I mean, it was all three of us, or eventually two of us. Um, and then this EP project was also me, but it took a long time. By the time I released it, I felt like I was a new artist. I was,
Sure.
and so I really want to create a full-length album that like is me
Yeah.
now,
Are those
So
songs in the works?
yes.
How are they coming?
Good, great. I mean, my problem is I keep writing songs as I'm working on it. It's not a problem. It's good, but like then I have all these songs that now are like 3 or 4 years old that I
Sure.
want to put on this. But I still play them live, and they still are me. And they've evolved so much since I wrote them. As far as like,
Hmm.
I'm glad I had a chance to play them live and
Yeah.
discover how they should sound, because a lot of times you write it in your room and then you get on stage and you realize like, oh, this needs to be way faster or way slower, or people really like this part, and so I should lean into that or whatever. And so the songs have kind of shaped themselves in that way. And so yeah, that's part of it. It's just I'd like to put out some music that really speaks, it feels like me and feels like it's who I am currently as an artist.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great note too about playing it live to
Mhm.
craft it.
Yeah.
Are there any artists that you've been really into recently?
Great question. I've been listening to Rustin Kelly's most recent album a lot. I love it. It might be tied with his oldest first one, but
Hmm.
really good. Pale Through the Window, I think it's called. I listen to it every day, and I'm like, is that what it's called? Um, uh, I have been listening to. I always listen to Laurie McKenna, who I already mentioned. I'm
Hmm.
like, she's just on my constant everything. Um, I I'm going to see Bruno Mars next weekend, so I've been listening
Heck
to a lot
yeah.
of Mars. Yeah, I'm very excited about
Nice.
that. And I'm actually looking at my Spotify right now, see who I've
Yeah.
been listening to lately. Yeah, Rustin Kelly, a lot of Rustin Kelly, a lot of Rustin Kelly here.
Well, here, I'll blend it
Charlie
into
Worsham.
sorry?
Charlie Worsham is another one I love.
Yeah.
But go ahead, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say I'll blend this into the next question, which is any writers or friends that you want to shout out that listeners should check out?
I'm glad you said that, because as I was looking, some of them are some writers and friends that I've been
Heck
listening to.
yeah.
Well, this is my friend Madeline Kelson. I'm wearing her shirt today. I want to
Nice.
shout her out. She's amazing. She's on tour right now, and we still will again, but just right now we're not.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of touring together. She's awesome. She's so good, and she's just gonna be huge. So everybody listen to her. I went to see last night my friends from Chicago, Henry True, who's also my ex-boyfriend, but we're still friends. And Case Oates are a couple of my friends I just went to see last night. They were so great. My friend Bonner Black, she's so good. She's so good. She's also really into birding, which is really fun. So she's like, and she's the one I was saying. She's just like so
Yeah.
her presence on the internet. I just
Hmm.
like don't know how she comes up with this stuff. She's so funny. So she's a
Yeah.
big inspiration to me as like just an artist of the day who uses the tools well.
Sure.
Um, my friend Charlie Treat is putting out a bunch of new music. Also, another friendly ex of mine. There's so many. I'll have to think of more, but yeah, those are
Sure.
some that come to mind right now.
Cool. Last thing is anything to promote and where can people find you?
As I mentioned, I'm not like I'm kind of I just put out this last project. So Spotify, Apple Music, all the places, YouTube. Also, AlainaStacey.com is my website. You can find everything there. I'm on Instagram, Alaina Stacey, Facebook, everywhere.
Hmm.
So those three EPs are out. I'm really proud of the music videos and things like I mentioned that are there. And on social media is where I will begin to share when I do get around to creating this full length album that I'm
Yeah.
working on slowly. And yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me right now.
Awesome. I will say, Think of You and Late Night Lies have both been getting stuck in my head because I've been listening to a bunch of your
Yeah.
stuff recently, and those are
Oh,
two that have stuck.
thank you.
So yeah, happy for
Thank
you,
you.
happy for the new project, excited for the new even more you project to come.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
And thank you so much for taking the time. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. This is really fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you, Tanner, for introducing us.
Thank you, Tanner.
And for being a phenomenal videographer and cinematographer, which are both the same thing.
I didn't say it. Tanner, if you're listening, I did not say that.
Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Alaina Stacey. You can find her music wherever you stream music at Alaina Stacey. And you can also follow her on Instagram and TikTok, also Alaina Stacey. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean so much to me if you shared it with a friend and left a positive review. Those both really help. You can watch full video of all episodes on YouTube if you search Travis Barrett and the Freewrite. And if you have the means and would like to support the show and myself, you can check out my Patreon page. I post unreleased demos, music recommendations, and bonus content from the podcast weekly. I really want to keep this show going, and supporting me on Patreon is the best way to make sure that it continues. Thank you again so much for listening this far. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I hope you make some time for yourself to create something today.